Hi, our lesson today is grammar, and we are going to talk about parts of speech. What are parts of speech? Parts of speech are basic types of words that English has. Grammarians classify parts of speech into 7 categories: nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, conjunctions, and prepositions. So, parts of speech are very important to know in order to form correct sentences in English. So that's why we are looking at them today. So today we are going to look at some of these categories, and in another lesson we are going to complete them. So again, the parts of speech are classified into nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, conjunctions, and prepositions. Let's look at the verb. A verb is a word which describes an action. What we mean by an action, it means doing something. Like, in our case here, we have walk, talk, think. So this is doing an action. It is an action done. To walk, this is an action. To talk, this is another action. And to think. Also, you have play, run, write, read, and so on. So this is an action, okay, which is doing something. Or it can be a state, which is being something. And the examples of verbs as which describes a state, we have verb to be, and of course verb to be is very famous in English. And the examples that we have here is or are as present, was or were as in the past. Also we have modal verbs like may, ought to, and all other modal verbs. So a verb is a word which describes an action, which is doing something, or a state, being something. And we have examples like walk, talk, think. This is action. Be, may, ought to. This is these verbs describe a state. Adverb. An adverb is a word that usually describes a verb. It tells you how something is done. It may also tell you when or where something happened. And the examples we have is slowly, quickly, fluently, beautifully. And of course we have lots of others. We just put here some examples only, and we are going to look at adverbs and verbs in detail after short time. So what is an adverb? It is a word that usually describes a verb. It tells you how something is done. It may also tell you when or where something happened. You always find adverbs describing a verb. So let's say he walks, this is the action, to school slowly. So now the action, which is walking, and how is this person doing it? He's doing it slowly. Okay? Or my teacher talks fluently. Again, the action is talking, okay? And how is this action done is fluently, which is an adverb, and so on. So, as we said now, verbs are words which describe an action or a state, and an adverb is a word that usually describes a verb. It tells you how something is done. It may also tell you when or where something happened. Noun. A noun is a naming word. It names a person, a place, a thing, a living creature, or an action. So, a noun is a naming word. And of course, it gives names to a person or a place or a thing or a living creature or an action. And we have here examples like cowboy, theater, box, tree, kindness, arrival. Okay? So what we have here, we just picked up the most important parts of speech which you should know by now, and we are going to put focus on them so that it will be easy for you to answer exam questions. So we looked at verbs, adverbs. Now we are looking at a noun and the adjective. An adjective is a word that describes a noun. It tells you something about the noun. Example, big, thin, amazing, beautiful, quick, important. So, when you have a noun, which of course is a naming word, then you can find in the sentence an adjective which describes this noun, okay? Like a big box, okay? Like big box. I'm describing the box by being big, okay? Or let's say beautiful tree, okay? So as now I gave you examples of verbs, adverbs, nouns, and adjectives. Let's look closely at verbs. Verb. What is a verb? This is the question. What is a verb? We are going to look very closely at verbs and see what we have there. A verb is a word which describes an action, doing something, or a state. Again, being something. Example, as we said, walk, talk, think. This is, of course, the action. Or verb to be, which is or are, or it can be was or were. Okay, it can be being or been, according to the tense. And we have the modals like can, will, and of course you can say also could, would, should, ought to, may, might. All these are the modal verbs, okay? So these describe a state, which is being something, okay? So again, a verb is a word which describes an action or a state. What are the main types of verbs? So, what are the main types of verbs? Of course, we have types of verbs, and there are lots of types of verbs, but the main ones are like this. Main verb in the sentence, which describes an action, like walk, sleep, drink, play, run, climb, dance, sing, all these main verbs, okay? And then we have auxiliary verbs, and these describes, of course, an auxiliary verb describes a state. And an auxiliary verb like be, have, okay, verb to be, verb to have, modals, and verb to do. So these are auxiliary verbs. Sometimes verb to have and verb to do are also used as main verbs. Okay? So verb to be in all its cases. In the present we have was or were. In the present we have is or are. In the past, we have was or were, and of course, it can be as it is, it can be been as the perfect, or being in the case of the continuous. Have as present will be have or has, past can be had, and so on. Of course, the modals, I think mostly you know them, and I gave you some examples of them now, like can, will, would, could, may, might, ought to, and so on. And of course, each modal got its own meaning. And also we have verb to do. Okay? In the case of present, we have do or does. In the case of past, we have did. And of course, the past participle is done. So what are the main types of verbs? We have main verb, which describes an action, and auxiliary verb, which describes a state. An example, we have be or have or modals or do. Okay? Be careful. Today, we are not looking at tenses. We are looking at the verb itself. Okay? We aren't talking about present or past or continuous or all the most tenses. We are looking at the verb itself. How to know that this word is a verb. Okay? This is our main concern in this lesson. We have main endings of verbs. Sometimes, of course, the verbs like walk and think and talk, work, I think these words, you know them. You know that these are verbs. But sometimes we have other verbs and it is hard to know. So, verbs have main endings. And let's look at some of them now. So we have here the endings. Here and in our first case is the ending ise, and the verbs can be like we have here stabilize, symbolize, rise, revise, and of course we have others. Another ending is ize, as you can see here, which comes at the end of the word, like summarize, memorize, recognize, harmonize, generalize, minimize. Okay? Also, the ending ive, which like arrive, dive, drive, survive, revive. And then we have ate, the ending ate, like translate, navigate, habituate, insinuate. And then we have the ending fy, like beautify, simplify, edify, terrify, modify, and clarify. So let's look at them again. So these are the main endings of verbs, okay? So in case, let's say you have the word summarize in a sentence, you don't know what its meaning, then first you try to know what part of speech is this word, so it will be easier for you to guess its meaning. So if I have summarize, then I look at the ending of the word, I have ize, then I know that this word should be a verb. And it comes from the word summary. So to summarize means to write something in a short form, let's say, or shortly, or to give summary of this thing, can be a report or a story. Again, let's say a word like survive. You don't know the meaning of the word survive, then you look at the ending of the word, it's ive, then it should be a verb. Then it will be easy for you to guess the meaning in the context. So let's have a look at the endings again. Ise, stabilize, symbolize, rise, revise. IZE, like summarize, memorize, recognize, harmonize, generalize, minimize. IVE as arrive, dive, drive, survive, revive. ATE, translate, navigate, habituate, and insinuate. FY, beautify, simplify, edify, terrify, modify, clarify. I'm going to just give you 1 minute to have a quick look on the endings and the examples. Okay? So be careful with these endings, okay? It's important to know these endings. Very good. Let's move on. Okay, now we are going to look at the position of a verb in a sentence. Where do we put a verb in a sentence? Number 1, after the subject. So, whenever you find the subject, you put the verb after the subject, okay? In English, they always tell us that in a sentence we have subject, verb, okay? So after the subject, and the example is like that. All women, and then space, themselves before going out. And let's choose together the correct answer. Is it beautify? Is it beauty? Is it beautiful? Is it beautifully? So, again, let's look at the 4 options. Which ones are, which one of this is the verb? So let's look at the endings. Yeah, okay, here beautify, FY, beauty, beautiful, and beautifully. So which one is the verb? Very good. Remember the endings? Excellent. So we have here all women beautify. So the subject is all women, and of course the verb is beautify. Okay? So where to put the verb in a sentence? It's after the subject. And here, women, all women, this is the subject of this sentence. Okay? The second option is when we use a verb or we put a verb after a modal verb. Okay? So we have here example of modal verbs like will, shall, can, may. Of course, we have might. We have could, we have would, all the modal verbs. So we put the verb after a modal verb. So the example we have here is, before going out to the interview, I will myself. Okay? So here the modal verb is will. And so what to put after it? We should put a verb. Let's choose. So we have A, beauty, B, beautify, C, beautiful, and D, beautifully. So we said we put the verb after a modal verb. Will. And so the verb will be what here in our case? Beautify. Very good. Again, another example we can say is, I will study hard. So I have here modal verb will and the verb study. Okay? So where do we put verbs in a sentence? In our first case, after the subject. And this is the example we have. All women beautify. And after a modal verb, and of course the modal verb is like will or can or may or might or ought to. We put verb after them. Also, when we have to, so we put a verb after to. Of course, to, yeah? Example, I'd like to myself before going out to the interview. I'd like to. So when you have to here, I found to in my sentence, so I need to put the verb. By now, I think you will spot the verb easily. Yeah, I think I heard someone saying it. Beautify. Excellent. So, I'd like to beautify myself before, and so on. So, after to, you put the verb. Also, another case is that when you have an adjective, so it's after an adjective. So, the fourth case for where to put a verb in a sentence is after would rather or had better. So, whenever you find would rather and or had better in a sentence, you put a verb after them. So, in our example here, I'd rather myself before going out. So here I'd, of course, this is the short form for I would rather, okay? I'd rather. And as we said, we are going to put the verb after I'd rather. So, which of these words is the verb? Excellent, yes, the words which has the ending fy. Remember, this is what we said now. So, the verb is going to be beautify. Okay? So, as we said, we put the verb after to in a sentence. It's like, I'd like to beautify myself. I'd like to study hard. I'd like to buy a new car. So after to here, then I put a verb. Also, after would rather or had better, I also put the verb. I'd rather beautify. I'd better study well, and so on. Okay? I'll give you half of a minute to have a look at these sentences. Okay. Now, let's start doing some exercises. We have choose the suitable answer. Number 1, you should, your mistake. And the options you have, admit, admitted, C, admission, D, admitting. Okay. Now you have you should. Remember, should is one of the modal verbs, right? So what should we put after should as a modal verb? We should put the verb. So, which of these words is the verb? Is it A, admit? Is it B, admitted? Is it C, admission? Is it D, admitting? No, it's not admission because admission is a noun, and we are going to look at this closely when we do the lesson on nouns. So it's not admission. Remember the ending, ION is not one of the endings we talked about when we were dealing with verbs. Yes, very good. It's A, admit. You should admit. So we have should as a modal verb, and then we have the verb admit, which comes after a modal verb. Very good. Let's go on. The soldiers had to their faces at night. And the options blackly, blacken, blackness, and black. So we said we put after had to. Remember we have to, then we put after to the verb. Okay? So which of these words is the verb? Is it blackly? Is it blacken? Is it blackness? Is it black? Yes, I think I heard you. So black, is it a verb or an adjective? Remember, this is a color, and mostly colors are adjectives. Okay? So which of these verbs, which of these words is the verb? Excellent. Blacken. Okay, which is the verb of the word black. To blacken. So again, if you have a color, let's say like black, and you have en at the end, then it is the verb of this word, of this adjective, blacken. So after to, we put the verb. In our case here, blacken. Number 3. It is impossible to how I felt. Again, we have to here. So let's choose the suitable answer, the correct word. Is it A, description, B, describing, C, descriptive, and D, describe? Very good. It's describe, because the word describe is the verb. Okay? The word describe is the verb. Description is the noun, and we're going to look at it together. Describing is an adjective. Okay? And descriptive also can't be put here. So the word describe is the suitable word here, is the verb. Remember we said when we find to, we always put the verb, describe. Number 4. How does this car from that one? We need to put a main verb here, okay? So there is no main verb in this question, okay? So, which word is the verb? Is it differ? A. B, different. C, difference. D, differently. I will read the sentence again. How does this car from that one? And you need to put, of course, as we said, a main verb in this question. A, differ. B, different. C, difference. D, differently. Excellent. So it will be, how does this car differ from that one? This is the verb. Differ is the verb. Okay? Very good. Then let's have a look again at these 4 sentences. You should admit. So after should as a modal verb, we put the verb. Soldiers had to blacken. And it is impossible to describe. And how does this car differ? Because in number 4, this is the main verb. Does, be careful, does is not the main verb in this question, okay? This is an auxiliary verb. This is a helping verb. So the main verb is differ. Excellent. Number 5. She tries to her house by planting flowers around it. All of you did it correct. I heard it. Excellent. She tries to beautify. Remember when we have to and then we have the verb beautify? Her house by planting flowers around it. Number 6. Smoking is not in this area. Okay, be careful that this sentence is a passive one. So we have smoking is not in this area. Is it A, allow, B, allowing, C, allowed, D, allowance? Very good. It is allowed because this sentence is a passive one. Is, helping verb, verb to be, and of course the main verb is in the past participle form, allowed. Number 7, she in the school play so well that everybody applauded admiringly. So the options, we have A, acted, B, acting, C, actionable, and D, action. So which word of these is the verb? Remember we said we put the verb after the subject. In our case here, she is the subject. Okay? So, which word is the verb? Very good. Acted. So, she acted in the school play so well that everybody applauded admiringly. Of course, this sentence, this verb in the past tense. Remember, as I told you earlier, we are not looking at the verbs or tenses. Okay? We are just looking at the verb as they are. We are not looking at the verb tenses. Okay? Number 8, you should some water in the mixture, then stir it. Remember should, one of the modal verbs. A, add, B, addition, C, added, D, additional. Which is the verb? So of course in this case we have two forms of verbs, okay? Add, A, and C, added. Which one is to put in this space after should? Can we say you should added? Yes, you are correct. We can't say it because this is the past tense of the verb to add. And after should as a modal verb, we need to use the infinitive without to. So it's add. You should add. Very good. All of you are perfect. So it's you should add some water in the mixture, then stir it. Let's look again at the sentences from the beginning. We have number 5. She tries to beautify her house by planting flowers around it. 6. Smoking is not allowed in this area. 7. She acted in the school play so well that everybody applauded admiringly. And number 8, you should add some water in the mixture, then stir it. Okay, let's move on. So, let's look at the adverb. What is the adverb? An adverb is a word which usually describes a verb. It tells you how something is done. So, always when you find a verb and you need to know how is this action done, you will find an adverb. Okay? And also, an adverb is the word which describes a verb. What is the main suffix of the adverb? Most of the adverbs in English have the suffix ly. So at the end of the word, you'll find ly. This tells you that this word is an adverb, okay? And be careful, not all adverbs got ly at the end, okay? Look at the word most of the adverbs. So it's not all of the adverbs, okay? Example, we have occasionally, honestly, happily, sadly, and so on. So whenever you find ly at the end of the word, this means that this word is an adverb, okay, and it describes the verb, okay, and it also tells you how this something is done, how is this action is taken. So let's look at some of our exercises here. Again, choose the suitable answer. Here, number 1, she sings. See, she sings. How is she singing? Okay, how is the action done? Yes, could you please choose the correct answer? Is it A, beautiful, B, beautify, C, beauty, and D, beautifully? Yeah, the clue here is look for the word which ends in ly, okay, because I need to put in this space an adverb. So the clue here is ly. So yes, excellent. D. And of course the word beautifully describes the way she sings, okay? She sings beautifully. So an adverb describes the verb. Number 2, students should behave at school. A, responsible, B, responsibility, C, responsibly, and D, responsive. Again, we have here, how should the students behave? So I need to know, to find the word which describes the way the students do the action, the way they should behave. Okay? So students should behave, very good, responsibly. Remember when we said that an adverb, the clue here to know an adverb is its suffix, its ending, ly. Very good. Number 3, it has rained here for a week. Okay, choose now. A, continue, B, continuous, C, continuously, and D, continuity. It has rained here for a week. I'm going to stop. Please, you have half of a minute to choose the correct answer. You need to describe how the action done, okay? You need a verb to tell you, you need a word to describe the verb. The raining, the case of it has rained. So what is the word? Excellent. You look for the clue for the word which got ly at the end, because this is an adverb, and also because I need an adverb to describe the action. So it has rained continuously here for a week. Very good. Let's have a look at these sentences again. She sings beautifully. Students should behave responsibly at school. It has rained continuously here for a week. Number 4, Picasso's paintings were painted. A, beauty, C, beautiful, C, beautifully, and D, most beautiful. So now we need to again describe how is this painting was painted, okay? So, beautifully, very good, an adverb here. Number 5, she went to swim as the weather was hot. A, extreme, B, extremes, C, extremely, D, extremity. So, he went to swim as the weather was hot. So, yeah, remember we need to describe the verb. So what type of word we are going to use? Excellent. Yeah, so the answer is extremely. Very good. Dyslexics are not unintelligent people. Many of them are very talented. So again, we need to put here what? An adverb. Which word is the adverb here? Is it A, necessary, B, necessitate, C, necessarily, and D, necessity? Very good. Necessarily, okay? So this is the adverb which we need to put in this sentence. I will give you 1 minute to have a look again at these sentences. So we have were, beautifully painted, was, extremely hot, are not necessarily unintelligent. Excellent. Number 7. He speaks about his ancestors and what they did to this country. So, A, proud, B, be proud, C, proudly, and D, pride. So, he speaks about his ancestors and what they did to this country. So we need to put a word here which describes how he speaks. Remember, we need a word which talks about how the action is done. Speaks. So if I need to put a word telling me how the action is done, then this word is an adverb. What is the clue to know that this word is an adverb? Excellent. The ending. Mostly you have ly at the end. So the answer is going to be excellent. Proudly. Very good. Number 8. The mother looked to her newly married daughter. Okay. A, admire, B, admirable, C, admiring, D, admirably. So the mother looked to her newly married daughter And we need to put here a word which describes the way the action was done. How did the mother look to her newly married daughter? Okay, yes. Excellent. Admirably. So the mother looked to her newly married daughter admirably. Excellent. Number 9. The house was designed, everyone liked it. So the house was designed, everyone liked it. A, beauty, B, beautiful, C, beautify, and D, beautifully. Okay, excellent, beautifully. So here I am talking about the way the house was designed. So I need an adverb. Very good. So the house was designed beautifully. I'm going to give you 1 minute to look at these 3 sentences, and then we will move on. Okay. Now we have another form of exercise, which is complete the following table. You have the word, which is here. You are going to give the verb of the word and the adverb. Okay, so as we said before, a table is a form of summing up the information we need to have. So I need you to just have a look at the word, okay, and then look at the verb and the adverb. So the word here is danger. Before we move on, I'm going to just show you that, of course, when you deal with adverbs, that always you put the ly suffix at the end. Okay? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just look at the words and try to find the verb of the word and the adverb. So the words are danger, useful, constructive, hopefulness, enjoyment, critical, dependent. Again, danger, useful, constructive, hopefulness, enjoyment, critical, dependent. Okay, so what is the verb of the word danger? Yes, in danger. Okay, so the verb of the word danger is in danger. You add the prefix en in this case. Okay, what about the adverb? Dangerously. Okay, so we have here at the end, remember we said that mostly adverbs have the end ly, the suffix. So the word danger, which is a noun, the verb of danger is in danger, and the adverb is dangerously. So danger, verb in danger, and adverb dangerously. Useful. So the verb of the adjective useful is use. Okay? So useful, we have the verb use, and of course it's according to its pronunciation. Sometimes you have use as a noun also. So in this case, if you have verb, then it is use. So useful, the adjective, the verb is use, and the adverb is usefully. Yeah, I think you know that. So the adjective useful, if you add to it the suffix ly, then you change this adjective into an adverb. So it's usefully. So the verb of the adjective useful is use, and the adverb is usefully. Very good. Then we have constructive. The verb is construct, and the adverb is constructively. So constructive is an adjective, okay, because of the ending, and we are going to look at the adjectives in our coming lesson, don't worry. So constructive is an adjective, okay, so the verb is construct, and the adverb is constructively. Remember what we said, that we have the adjective, we add to it ly to the end, to the ending of the word, so we change the adjective into adverb. Hopefulness, this is a noun, so the verb of hopefulness is hope. So hope as a verb, of course, okay? It's like I hope to pass my exams. And again, the adverb, hopefully, okay? So hopeful is the adjective, again, remember? And in order to put the adverb, then I will take the adjective, hopeful, and put ly at the end. So the verb of hopefulness is hope, and the adverb is hopefully. The word enjoyment, this is a noun, okay? Again, we are going to look at nouns closely in our coming lesson. So enjoyment, this is a noun. The verb, very good, enjoy. And the adverb is enjoyably. Enjoyably. Okay? So enjoyment, the noun. The verb is enjoy, and the adverb enjoyably. Critical. This is an adjective. The noun, the verb is criticize. Remember the ending of the verb, and this is one of the verbs we have ending here, which is I-Z-E, okay, criticize. And of course the adverb is critically. This is, as we said, critical is the adjective, and when I form the adverb of the adjective, then it's going to be critically. Ly. Okay? The last word we have is dependent, and the verb is depend, okay, And when you depend on somebody, means that you wait for help from this person. Like a baby depends on his mother, okay? He needs her help. And the adverb is dependently. Okay? Again, dependent is the adjective. As we said, the clue here is that if I have the adjective of the word, then it's very easily to put ly at the end of the word, and then it's going to be what? An adverb. Excellent. So let's look again at the words, their verb forms and their adverb forms, okay? So, danger, the verb is in danger, the adverb is dangerously. Useful, the verb is use, the adverb is usefully. Constructive, the verb is construct, the adverb is constructively. Hopefulness, the verb is hope, and the adverb is hopefully. Enjoyment, the verb is enjoy, and the adverb is enjoyably. Critical, the verb is criticize, and the adverb is critically. Dependent, the verb is depend, and the adverb is dependently. I'm going to give you just 1 minute to look at the words, their verb forms, and their adverb forms. Okay, so by this we come to the end of our lesson. Let's sum up whatever we talked about in the lesson. Today we talked about parts of speech, and we looked closely at 2 of the parts of speech. I think they are important: the verb and the adverb. And we said the verb describes an action, or of course a state. So when we have an action, it's like walk, talk, run, sleep, play, and so on. Or a state is like verb to be, or the modal verbs, okay? And also we talked about the position of the verb in the sentence, and we had about 4 positions, like after the subject, and after to, and after would rather, or had better, and so on. And then we looked at the adverbs, and we said an adverb is the word which describes a verb, or it tells us how the action is done. And we said also that most of the adverbs have the suffix ly at the end, okay, as in this case. And also we said that the position of the adverb can be after the verb, okay? So by this, I wish that our lesson was helpful and you got it all. Thank you so much. See you next time. By this we come to the end of our lesson today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.